How are you guys?
Hamilton. A lot of people can't get tickets. This is the closest people are going to get to you guys for a long time, I feel like. This sells out.
Yeah, this show is
In fact, take this back up just a little bit.
Yeah, we need our space.
I don't crowd your performance here.
Yeah, Hamilton is like the Beyonce of theater. So it's kind of like, get in there when you can.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to start right into Hamilton. We'll get into the rest of your careers, obviously. But I'm going to start with you, Brendan. Tell me a little bit about what you thought when you first saw the show. I imagine you went a couple times before you started actually playing Aaron Burr.
I went once, actually, with a friend of mine. He saw it like a day or two before, and he said, I'm taking you in 2 days because I need to watch you watch the show. And I remember I was watching it, and it was going along, and I was just really caught up in really the words and the storytelling. And when they hit Angelica's moment in Satisfied, and they did the rewind, I said, I don't want to curse, but I said,
you can curse if you want to. It's appropriate.
But I said, fuck you. Yeah, that was the moment when I was like, Lynn, I was just like, you found that pivot, and that you really created something really dynamic and special, and just the artistry that went in on every level was really impressive.
And did Lynn say anything to you about taking over that role? Was he saying, make it your own? What kind of guidance did he give you as far as, following?
No, when I came into the show, they were in the middle of a big transition, and they were starting to set companies around the world. So I really didn't see Lynn until I was about 2 weeks into the show. He came by because he was doing some work in London, and he came by. But he showed a lot of love. If you saw the tweet, he referred to me as a revelation.
That's high praise.
Anytime I get notes from the music director or the director, I go, look at this tweet. I'm a revelation.
You can put that on the resume, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So Bryan, tell me a little bit about when you first saw the show.
Yeah, I saw it. I'm really good friends with Leslie Odom Jr., who won the Tony Award.
Previous
Burr. And I saw the show, and I called my agents, and I said, do not send me in for this. It is perfect. Don't touch it. And, I thought for a while that the role that I would probably be called in for would be Burr. But when my agents called me in and said, well, what do you think about Washington? I said, there might be some room to do something a little different and kind of take my own approach to the role. And so when it came along, 7 auditions later, now I'm the president.
That's amazing. There we go.
Happy President's Day.
Happy President's Day, guys. Yeah, celebrating President's Day here. So tell me a little bit about the favorite song you have, the favorite. There's so many great ones. You guys have one that you love to perform. It's impossible. I know it's an impossible question.
Yeah, I have different favorites for different reasons. Like my favorite section of the show is actually Helpless, Satisfied, Wait For It. Just the way they connect and they roll into the inner monologues of those characters. The most fun for me is Nonstop, and the most exciting is Room Where It Happens.
Yeah, of course. I love Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy. You can't. That song is great. But I get a chance to sing one last time in Act 2, and it was a special moment because my first show, I was singing One Last Time while President Barack Obama was giving his one last time address in Chicago. And it was a moment as an artist, that I will never forget. I'll never forget it for a few reasons. We have those serendipitous moments where life meets art, art meets life. But then also, it was terrifying because I was so emotional, and I don't have that Audra McDonald thing where you can just cry those beautiful Denzel tears and then have like a clear voice over top of it. So I'm walking down, downstage, and I'm singing this song, and I'm getting ready for what I call the gospel ending, and my hands start shaking.
Yeah, he'd be stomping the floor and clapping.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Take us home.
You got to see it. It's a thing. So I'm like shaking, and my voice starts shaking, and I'm like, don't cry. Don't cry. Oh, God, it's coming. It's coming. And then just tears, and it was a beautiful mess.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's such an honor to be able to do that, and him have a little bit of George Washington's dialogue in his farewell speech too. Did you go back and watch that speech? Obviously,
I did. I went back and watched it afterwards, and it was overwhelming. The show, obviously, because of casting and everything, is in great transition, but also our country's in great transition. And to leave that show performing for the first time on that stage, and then to go home and sit and watch that, it's beyond words, literally beyond words.
I think we have to talk a little bit about you, Brendan, in delivering the speech to VP-elect at the time. Absolutely beautiful words. Beautiful words. I feel like the country really needed that at that time, and to be a part of that must have been inspiring. Tell me a little bit about how that process came to be.
I mean, I think for me, I was really proud. I was very proud of, our show and the creators of our show wanting to continue to use their platform to say things. Our show is about inclusion. I mean, our show is about the founding of our country, and the founding of our country is based in the pursuit of ideas and ideals, about having a government and a country that represents you, that justly represents you. And so I love the design of our show, the message of our show, and I was very proud that they wanted to use the platform to stand up and create a message for all of us, a very nonpartisan message just about the unity and the equality that we all seek to have. We all want the opportunity to pursue life, liberty, and justice. And so I'm very, very happy about our show taking the time to do that and being able to do it with my entire gloriously diverse cast in support of us saying that message. That meant a lot.
Can you tell me a little bit about the genesis? I mean, how it came, when it first came to you, when they first told you that you guys were doing that? I mean,
it all happened very quickly that day. And Jeffrey Sellers, the producer, asked me to speak the words that they had come up with, and we all kind of spoke about it as a group, and then went out that evening and did it.
Well, you guys have been doing theater for a while now, and the thing about theater is you go every night, sometimes twice a day. So tell me a little bit about how you guys have, if there have been any incidents where you had to change dramatically, or someone was in the way, or tell me a little bit about that, coordinating that behind the stage.
Oh, you mean like if anything ever goes wrong on stage?
Anything ever goes wrong, yeah.
Never. It's always perfect. Great story. So the intro, what I call the intro of George Washington, is a song called Right Hand Man. And at the very end, Hamilton says, he says, "What?" He just screams this "what?" And I'm supposed to turn to the audience and say, "And his right hand man, dun, 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 boom." And when it goes boom, I'm supposed to rip out the sword and go like this. So I didn't realize that the sword has a hook on it. And I've got on this amazing jacket. And he goes, "What?" And I turn to the audience and go, "And his right hand man, dun, 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 dun." I rip out the sword, boom, and go like that, and it gets stuck on the jacket. So it's this moment where I'm trying to be serious, but I'll laugh at myself all the time. So I'm like, boom! And I just like internally broke down laughing. Like
you sold it though.
I tried to sell it. Only a couple of the cast members saw it and went, "You stole it, got stuck, huh?" So
our cast is very ruthless. They're ruthless.
Yeah.
Don't make a mistake. Don't miss a word. They won't let it go.
They will call you out on it. Yeah.
How about you, Brendan? Any mishaps or changes to the
Quite regularly. I have a whole Instagram video series about it called Burr's Corner. Because I think it was my first show. I went out and I butchered the lines to nonstop in a very obvious way. And as soon as I got off stage, I made a video because I said, I know these Hamilton fans are about to come for me. They know. And so I just started making videos every time I make a mistake. And what's hilarious is that now people they ask me to make mistakes so that I can make videos. But I mean, the way the show is paced, the way it works, mistakes happen all the time. But you roll with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, Leslie, started the role before you. And can you tell me, did you guys have a conversation before you took over, or was it sort of you doing your own thing?
Well, Leslie and I have been friends for a while, and I think, the thing that Leslie and I really talked about was he just said, he gave me some research materials, some books that he read. He shared those with me, and he just said, you'll see what it's like when you get out there, and I look forward to talking to you about how your body feels about 2 months into it. So that was really the extent of our conversation about the role. I think Leslie created something really, really special, and I'm grateful that they asked me to come in and uphold the mantle that he created. And look, I stole a lot of his stuff, so I'm happy that he came there and he created what he did.
As well. You made it your own as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, my Burr is very different from Leslie's, but using the roadmap and the blueprint that he created really showed me all the colors that I could find in the role, and I'm still continuing to explore things and discover new things. And because our cast changes on a very regular basis. We just regularly have understudies and swings because of injuries or new castings or whatever the reason. So you find that when you're on stage with different groups of people who are interpreting their characters differently, it changes who my Burr is that day, and it changes the arc of the show. And sometimes I'm a very, lovely, congenial Burr, and sometimes I'm an arrogant Burr, and sometimes I'm a sensitive Burr who just wants to be friends. It changes, which has been really interesting.
Yeah. And Bryan, any conversation with Christopher before you stepped in?
Not before. I ran into him at Broadway Con, and I've been a big fan of Chris's work for a while, and he, of course, extended the hey, bro, if you ever need to talk, just give me a call. But I think again,
great impersonation right there.
Yeah, that's you, Chris. That was you just now. But yeah, I think that for me, part of this show is the amazing work of the show, right? But part of it is also the phenomenon of the show. And so for me, I wanted to find a way to just approach it as clean as possible with no preconceived notions. And so I've never been put into a show before. I've only started a show. So they were like, you can come and see it as much as possible. And I was like, absolutely not. Because I know I'm a sponge, and I know that I'll literally just start to kind of, without even thinking, subconsciously emulate some things. And so I saw it a good amount of times, but I wasn't obsessed with seeing it while I was in rehearsal. I was that weirdo that was in a room by myself. They have a studio, and the whole set is taped on the floor. And so once I learned all the music and I learned all the blocking, I went in there with the script and I pressed play, and I just walked around the room by myself. And so, yeah, I was really, really interested to find what my George Washington would be. And then, of course, there's resources, but there's tons of resources to play somebody that was alive. I'm reading A Life by Ron Chernow, who's also the writer of the Hamilton book, and I'm still reading it because it is a big book. And it's been a huge resource. You know what I mean? We've got the internet. We've got so much. There's a wealth when it comes to George Washington.
Yeah,
so.
And Bryan, you said it best. I mean, it's a phenomenon. Have you guys had any interactions with fans? I mean, I went to karaoke last week. There was 3 people singing Hamilton songs, and not doing great, but not as great as you guys. But tell me, have you guys run into fans or just heard it while you're walking out and about?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing for me has been really the impact of the show on young people. That's been the thing that I've seen the most, and that I think has been really fantastic. But we get this question a lot about the phenomenon of Hamilton. I think the most powerful thing about our show is that it takes these individuals, these people who, when we go to school, we mythologize these people. Right. We turn them into these larger-than-life icons who formed this country and did all these great things. And Hamilton strips all of that mythology away and makes them regular people with joys, with gifts, with moral flaws, with envy, with empathy, they make them real human beings. And so I think what that does for people is that helps us all to recognize our own individual power, and helps us to recognize that we too have the ability to shape our community, to shape our country, our government, and to create an environment, create a government that really represents due representation for all our people. I think that's the most glorious aspect of the show, and I think that's part of why it caught fire. It helps us to recognize that we are revolutionaries, and we have to be revolutionary in the way we live our lives.
Yeah. Well said, Bryan. Any interactions with people?
Yeah, I've had 2 today. On the way here, I got an Instagram. Someone did a portrait of me as George Washington, and again, these crazy.
You gotta
moments
get that hung up in your room.
Yeah,
or
it's
something like
it's
that.
President's Day, and they wrote this amazing statement underneath of it, and it kind of made me tear up on the way in. Someone that I didn't even know was following my career for a while, and am kind of paying attention. And this, when you see it, it's
on your Instagram.
It's on my Instagram. It's The Real BTC.
There we go. little plug on Instagram.
At
right
The Real
there.
BTC. At The Real BTC. No, but yeah, it really brought me to tears. But there's a special story. There was I was maybe a week or 2 into the show, and I got this email from a father who is in love with his daughter, and she had been wrestling with depression for the last few years because she was being bullied in school, and it was her dream to come and see this show, and he took out a loan to get his wife and his daughter there, and all he wanted was an opportunity to maybe, if I can, just come out and say hello. Well, I was extremely moved that he would do this for his family and do this for her, and I just brought them backstage and had everybody sign their programs and just kind of rolled out the red carpet for them. So we are really close to our fans. We have a real relationship to them. There's no removal. We are you are us, and we all get to enjoy this.
Yeah, I got in a political fight with one of my fans on Instagram the other day, and then she was like, "But I'm coming to the show next week," and I was like, "All right, well, come on back."
It's a very diverse crowd. I love that. Exactly, diverse cast,
She's a lovely
diverse
lady.
crowd. Yeah,
Amy Wall. It's good when you can disagree with, be polite. It's nice.
That's amazing. I mean, the tickets are obviously the hottest ticket in
what are you
town, for
talking
lack
about?
of a better word, for Hamilton, obviously.
They're hard to get?
That's what I hear. I think so. I was wondering how often you guys get hit up for tickets.
Yo, no. I mean, it's just funny, but it's kind of sad. There was a cast member who was at a funeral the other day, and she was like, I was just waiting. And they came up, it's so good to see you. It's been a long time, condolences. It's sad that, how's the show going? She said, here it comes. Okay? He's like,
No.
Yeah. Then they asked, and it's like, but look, it's just you can't be mad that people want to see you, they want to support, and they want to be a part of this, what is clearly a special experience. So,
But what's hilarious is that it's like the people that are closest to you are afraid to ask.
Yeah.
It's like friends and family are like, hey, I know it's probably really difficult. I know
people
it's really
reintroducing
hard.
themselves to you. Like,
Yeah,
I saw
hey.
you a week ago, man.
You're like, you're my friend. You don't have to introduce yourself. But then it's like the people that you have not talked to in like 15 years, or like, hey, I went to middle school with you. I haven't talked to you since then, but what up with some Hamilton tickets? It's like, huh? I had somebody hit me up and they were like, so I need 10 tickets. We're looking to come sometime this summer. Can you make that happen? I'm like, no, actually, I literally can't make that happen. So yeah, it's an interesting thing.
And you guys have tons of people come through. Have you guys had anybody fascinating or interesting come by backstage or in the audience that you were a little nervous about?
Yeah, a lot.
There? Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick was there the other day.
Kaepernick.
That was fantastic. I'm a big fan of his.
Me too.
And, Sandra Bullock was there this week. That was lovely.
Melissa McCarthy, she's one of the funniest
hilarious,
people on
yeah.
the planet. So I just was trying not to hug her so long. Yeah, people come every day, I feel.
Yeah.
And you guys have the Ham for Ham backstage videos. The digital videos are on YouTube and everything like that. The sort of like the antics that you guys are getting into. It looks like you guys have a blast. I mean, there was the coronation of Taron Killam. Can you tell me a little bit about that? That's online, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Again, I was new. Me and Terrence started around the same time, and love that guy. New best friend.
He's all right.
Former
He's all
SNL
right.
cast
Jury's
member.
out.
Yeah, Terrence's amazing. And so they do this huge coronation where the kings from before come and welcome in with this. It's very ceremonious, and they bring in this new king. And then they were like, so George Washington is supposed to come and take out his sword and kind of like knight him. And I said, cool. I didn't realize that Taron was going to rip off his pants and have on leopard bikini underwear.
But if we're being real, leopard bikini underwear makes everything easier. It smooths any situation out.
It made it a little more difficult for me. I took out the sword and I was like, all right, brother, okay, you the king. So it was a fun experience. Yeah.
Any other sort of rituals or tell me.
He has a great one.
There we go.
What's my ritual?
It's a great one. So every Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Every Saturday. His dressing room is right under mine, and we both actually have like pretty loud speakers, but his are pretty loud. And so during intermission, he opens his door, and we have a full-out dance party during intermission.
Called Saturday Night Dance Party.
Saturday Night Dance Party, and he started that. We're gonna keep that going.
I hope to be invited next time. What were you guys playing? What kind of
to the
stuff were you
dance
guys dancing to?
I just ask people to name a year, and then I'll play a song from that, whatever year that is. Because I was playing songs of my own initially, and then I realized it's like I'm old, so let me stop playing all this old stuff.
But we like the old stuff. Yeah.
We like the old stuff.
I mean, a good old '90s throwback. Everybody likes a '90s throwback, right?
That's very true.
Little '80s throwback.
Yes.
I mean, speaking of, this whole songbook is incredible. Even the songs I'm sure you guys don't sing, you guys get stuck in your heads. Is there any one in particular that you catch yourself singing when you're not on stage, or?
Oh man, I always, and I'm gonna do a mashup of this, so nobody steal my idea. But me and Taryn were doing a little bit of a mashup between My Shot and Work. So I think those two get stuck in my head often, and I'm gonna put them together and do a little YouTube, little Instagram fun with those.
I just like, everybody in our show they're so different, and their voices are so different, and their styles are so different. So I just get caught up on the ways certain people do certain things. Like I make fun of Jordan Fisher all the time, and how he sings certain lines, and it's just things like that. I get Hamilton is like it allows performers to really be their individual selves. It really meld with the character in that way. So it's like that's the thing I think I enjoy. Just little pieces of people's songs.
And you guys have done so many roles in your careers. Do you see yourselves ever getting tired of this? Ever wanting to? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Tired of acting?
No. Of Hamilton and playing these characters.
Yeah, the time will come. It's inevitable.
Yeah, I think that I think it's an interesting thing being a performer because we feel so grateful and we feel so blessed to do what we do, and we know that it is an honor and a privilege to be able to do it. There are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, probably millions, that wish they can do what we do. But at some point, sometimes, some days, it does still feel like a job. And you know, you can be on stage and there can be, you know, 1,300, 1,500 people screaming, but they don't realize that, you know, somebody in your family just passed away, or you just went through a breakup. So life is still happening while we're doing this amazing work. And so at some point, it'll just be time to do something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know.
There we go. Nice. Well, there's some questions out there in the audience. I think we're going to start right there.
Okay, hi. So
Hi.
You guys were talking a little bit about interactions with the audience and how it changes night by night. Different audience brings a different vibe to you guys. And actually, I wanted to say from the audience's perspective, you know, you're so tied to these iconic characters in the first cast. When I finally got my tickets to the show, they announced the first big cast changes. And I was like, darn, you know, like whatever. But I had just seen Shuffle Along, and I had like fallen in love with you. And I was like, he's going to be in it. So then I was happy. What? So what about you guys, though, with the cast changes? I mean, I know how the audience can bring a different feel, but when you get new actors, whether they're understudies or permanent change, how does that change the vibe in the cast?
Yeah, I mean, it changes it completely. I think part of it is also because, you know, when swings or understudies go on, there again, as a performer, I think sometimes, and I don't know, sometimes people have this feeling or this thought that you're either able to completely remove yourself from what you're engaged in, or the goal is to remove yourself from what you're engaged in, and it never actually happens, and I don't even think it should be the goal. I mean, I'm always going to be me, no matter what character I'm playing. I was me as UB, I was me as Hamilton. I mean, that's Burr. Right.
And, secret ambitions come out.
We're all
to light.
come on,
Hamilton.
And so these people who are coming in, they have their days, their lives, but also their anticipation of becoming this character and how they're going to filter that through what they do. So everybody comes in with a different energy, and it's just about how we tell the story with that energy. So it always changes. It really shifts. And if we're doing our jobs, we're trying to stay as present as possible. So you are listening, you are reacting, and you know the way Javon McFerrin approaches that first monologue as Hamilton is different from the way Javier Munoz does, is different from Donald Weber's about to start. Michael Luoye just went to the West Coast. So it's like, yes, woo, Michael Luoye. So it really does shift, but that's the fun of it. That's the joy of it. I mean, I love it. I don't think I personally, since I started, have had the same cast like more than 4 days in a row, 4 shows in a row, and so it stays alive. And what's fantastic is that it's proof of how wonderful the show is, because you see a different cast, but you still get this extraordinary story, this energy, this talent. It still resonates.
Yeah, for me, I just feel like artists are instruments. It's just that we use our bodies, right? So a good example is Brandon. So Brandon is a trumpet. He is a trumpet. He is loud, he is focused, he is blaring, he is a firebrand, and that's why we love him, right? Leslie is a different Burr. Leslie is like a wind instrument. And so to hear the same music being played with a wind instrument, and now the same music is being played with a trumpet, it's a beautiful thing. So to me, it's about like, what band are we putting together? If everybody's playing the same music, but we're just using different instruments today, what does that classic jazz song sound like with different instruments now? You know, what is and I love it because that's why we love Shakespeare, right? So we know those stories, we know Hamlet, you know, we know King Lear, we know Macbeth, but it comes alive when the performers that we love play those iconic roles. And so that's kind of what's happening with Hamilton too.
Yeah. Well said. Here we go. Next question right there.
Hi, guys. As you can hear, I'm not from here. I live here now. And I haven't seen the show. And I have a consideration that it's not my history. And I've done some homework. There was a PBS program about it. Am I going to miss it? Am I going to get it? And it's coming to London, I hear. And
It
people
is.
are very excited. They bought tickets for a year ahead. Obviously, you just answered the piece about, you're artists and I can enjoy the music. And am I going to miss?
You are going to fall in love with it and us. That's my first response. You are going to fall in love. And I hope you find a way to contact us because I would love to hear what you think afterwards. I'm a firm believer in this. No matter what your culture is, the more honest and specific you are in your storytelling, we find that our stories become universal. So whether it is about a family in Russia and we're watching Chekhov, or it's a family in Ireland, we watch those stories, and those are not my culture. The huge, amazing Greek tragedies that we love, right? That's not my culture, but there's something universal about the human experience. And as Brandon said earlier, I think that although it is, a revolutionary time in America, they do a really good job of making these people human. You will fall in love with who they are and their relationships with each other, along with this amazing music. So I have no doubt. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
One last question right there.
Hi.
Hi.
This is my first time in the new digs, and I'm loving it, by the way, from the other office. But anyway, I was lucky enough to see Leslie as Burr and you as Burr. And Bryan, I'm coming for you. I'm going to see you. I'm planning on this year, so
said,
watch out.
Bryan, watch out.
But luckily, when I saw it with you, you brought this. You just said sometimes you play a different Burr sometimes, but you brought the Burr that I saw was a certain confidence and elegance to it. And I don't know if that was like a conscious effort, or I guess maybe what I'm asking is what changes did you want to bring to Burr, and how did that develop?
I didn't necessarily specifically set out to bring changes to Burr. And I mean, in fact, I thought my Burr was going to be much more similar to Leslie's initially than it ended up being. It's just the more research I did about Burr, the more I read about Burr, and the more I listened to the music, my creative brain got excited, and it just started to see. Look, the greatest thing you can do for a performer is give them rich material. It's like, I got this material, I'm reading, because, you see it or you hear it, but you get, even now, I begin to discover new things in the writing. And as I was reading, it was just like the richness of the material, I just saw how much I could begin to fill it with life. And so it began to took on a life of its own. And so a lot of the things that happen are really just my own natural responses to the emotionality of the material, combined with the information that I ingested about who this person was and the different things that Burr had to deal with. Somebody who saw the show last night said to me that a line that resonated with them the most, that does with me as well, is it said, we told this story. I was like, but he died, but I paid for it. I said at the end, and it reveals so much about Burr's life went on, but all that he had to deal with and process about the choices he made, and all that it took to get him to where he arrived. It's, for me, that process of exploration. There's so much in that. Having a song like Burr is a man who exhibits control and has a cover, but then you have a song like Wait For It. And for me, Wait For It is I go back and forth with the musical director, with Alex Lacamoire, about my approach to the song a lot, because there are things I want to release in the song, and he's like, but he wants me to contain them. And I said, but for me, Wait For It is where there's a rage, there's a torrent of fire burning within Aaron Burr, just like Hamilton, which is why he connects with Hamilton. He wants to connect with Hamilton so much. He just believes that Hamilton is going about doing things the wrong way. He's like, this is the way you have to do it, but wait for it. He begins to show you that furnace that burns within him, and then in Room, you see it explodes, and it changes his character. So for me, there's just so much material that it's so rich that all this stuff starts to come alive in me. I can't help it.
Also, how excited are you guys for James to come on and play, Jefferson?
I'm ready for the genie.
Listen, the genie is about to come to Hamilton.
There we go. Well, one more round of applause for Brandon and Bryan and their work.
Thank you all. Thank you for coming out to see us today. Thank you.